I have Butch Niebuhr, treasurer of the Dallas County Foundation. Thanks so much for joining me, Butch.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Rebecca.
Yeah, so to get us started, I'm interested to know if we were to come to Dallas County for the day, what is the top thing that we would need to do before leaving?
Well, and I'll have to preface this by saying I live just in Perry, and I've lived in Perry since 1964. So
Okay.
I'm going to be talking mostly about northern Dallas County. Uh, so, of course, in Perry, I'd mention the Hotel Patee for one, for sure, which is worth a stop and a destination. The other on the county-wide part would be the Dallas County Conservation Department and their museum that they have, Forest Park Museum, just south of Perry in the county. It's a jewel that people from coming into Dallas County and a lot of Dallas County residents should know about and visit. It has a lot of Dallas County history, books that were written about Dallas County. Even on the grounds of the Forest Park Museum, there's a one-room schoolhouse and other buildings that have historically have been moved to the conservation property. So there's a lot to see. I know my wife, we take our three granddaughters out there and they can spend the whole day just
Yeah.
looking at things there and the way things used to be. So there's a lot of history there. I think there's even an automobile in the museum
Sure.
that was donated. So there's a lot to see.
Sounds like we could spend more than one day exploring all that Dallas County has to offer.
Well, that's why I brought up the Hotel Patee first, because you got to have a
That's right.
place to stay.
That's right. That was a good plug there.
There you go.
All right, so to kind of get into the heart of what we're talking about today, we're focusing on the theme of planting seeds for the future. So doing work now that's going to create that long-term impact moving forward. And the Dallas County Foundation has done a great job of building awareness of the foundation throughout your community and really planting those seeds over time. Can you tell us a little bit about your strategy for getting the word out?
Yeah, and first, what I want to talk about is Scott Zerczina was a founding board member of the Dallas County Foundation. And after he got off the board, he became their part-time or by contract executive director. And he just gave up that position in 2020 when he ran for the Senate. So Scott was on board as our executive director by contract when I first came on the board. And it was a joy. A lot of people that know Scott know he's the mayor of Clive. So he's been around for a long time and well-known in the community in Dallas County and Polk County. But he was a lot of help. And that's one thing that me coming out of city government with just connections and knowing people, it was good for us to get out and talk about the Dallas County Foundation. And one thing that we really targeted first were service clubs, whether it was Lions Club, Rotary Club, and most all the communities. Scott or I would line up going to their meetings and taking an hour, a half hour, whatever was allotted to us to talk about Dallas County Foundation and who made it up, talking about the four quadrants of the county and where we drew our board members from, who our board members were, what we did, and especially our grant cycle, because the foundation is made up of a lot of the gambling funds that go into our pass-through fund to give out in grants. And so making people aware of that through those service organizations.
Sure.
The next one that Scott and I spent a lot of time with was lawyer offices, financial advisors, estate planners. So we started looking at communities and talking to their law firms, especially that did maybe property or did income tax work, and then financial advisors and estate planners to talk about giving to the foundation and the benefits of doing that, especially with the Endow Iowa credits. So we spent a lot of time with that, nurturing that, and that got a lot of word out about Dallas County Foundation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So really focusing on the civic groups as kind of a larger group, and then your professional advisor community as another group to get the word out.
Yeah, a little bit more one-on-one, but we found that when we went to a law firm, a lot of times you're looking at maybe a couple partners or associates, and you might even be put into a room with 3 or 4 attorneys with maybe all of them doing estate planning. So it was very good to be able to get our information out to them and also getting to know who they were in the county. And some of those would maybe garner us into board members and become interested in the foundation. So it really got our name out there and what we did and drew some attention to us.
Absolutely. And putting a face to the foundation, having you
Correct.
actually go out in person. Yeah.
Correct.
What are some of the successes that you've seen from prioritizing this work?
So especially in those groups, as far as estate planning, we've seen some people that have, especially in rural, being in Perry in the northern part of Dallas County, it's more rural than urban. And we're seeing the farmers come aboard with coming up with different ways to actually help us be funded. So it may not be just a check that they write, but maybe it's grain or stock that the community foundation is able to turn that into cash to put into our funds.
Yeah.
So we've seen some of that, and that was garnered, especially some of our grain is garnered by estate planners and former board members that are ag related. And then also in the business side of it, stocks and bonds. So we've been fairly successful with that, but you don't have to be too successful with that because they're not giving up, like a bushel of corn here and there. We're talking about 100 bushel of corn or 500 bushel of corn or maybe 50 stocks or something like that. So these are a lot larger donations than normal, than what we'd see of a $25 or $50 check, which we really love.
Right.
Those. So that, and then on the other side of that, getting our name out there is other groups and nonprofits that maybe have funding money that they have sitting in a passbook or a savings or a checking account, and they're lucky to make 0.5% on finding out about our foundation and what they could garner from those funds if they were a sub-fund of the Dallas County Foundation.
Sure.
So I was actually working again with the Community Foundation and talking with different subgroups in Perry. And a matter of fact, just here we are sitting in the first week of February, and we're just picking up one from Perry in the next 2 weeks, probably, or next 2 months.
Okay.
Sub-fund from the McCurry Community Center.
Yeah.
They've had one we've been talking to them for almost a year now. They went through a large reinvention out there and remodeling, and through the COVID, they've been closed, and the COVID's just messed up so much stuff for us in 2020 as far as getting individual contacts and getting face-to-face with people. So that's been real tough. So it's nice to see that connection that Scott and I and Joe worked on, and I just got an email from Joe today that's going forward.
Oh, great.
So we'll be able to add that McCurry Community Foundation as a sub-fund to the Dallas County Foundation here within a month or two.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So the Community Foundation is really able to step in and help donors with some unique gifts, and also to really be there to support your local nonprofits.
Yeah, so as that works in these smaller sub-funds and nonprofits, you get to talk to their boards and their committees, and then they go, well, I'm on another board, and we've got this money that's sitting in a pass-through account, and we're barely making 2 or 3/10 of a percent. What can you do for us? So it opens up another talk, and that's what's happened with being able to pick up some of these sub funds in Perry. Their board members contact other board members, or they're on multiple nonprofits, and say, well, maybe you ought to talk to Dallas County Foundation and see what's going on. They might be able to help you.
Yeah, connections build upon connections.
That's true, and that's really worked out real well for us.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So you've already shared a lot of great information. Do you have any kind of final words or final tips?
The other thing is board members, and I kind of touched on that a little bit, that we're real animate about picking our board members from 4 quadrants so that the whole county is represented, and also looking for professionalism, things that they bring to the board that they can use. So one of our board members, Katie Spellman, she's really great with social media and with websites. She's redesigned our website. She's redone and keeps us abreast of social media. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know anything about it, but other than my wife's on it. So I'm probably on it more than I know, but Katie is great with that with social networking,
Mhm.
and everybody does it. So especially in this time of 2020 with the COVID going on, that is one way that she has, and she's allowed the Dallas County Foundation to network on that
Mhm.
social networking platform,
Sure.
which keeps us in people's minds and on their radar. So that's a big deal.
Mhm.
If I wasn't in social media, and I probably should be on it now with just the foundation, because it is a big deal, and everybody needs to have that presence and a good website. That's
Yeah.
part of the sub fund, is a lot of those smaller funds don't have the ability to have a website or to have that social media presence. Maybe they have some social media presence, but it's not full time, it's hit and miss.
Mhm.
So one thing that we can offer as a foundation, and them as our sub, we can offer them a platform and get their word out there. So people can not just donate to the Dallas County Foundation, but also to maybe a sub fund.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great point.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about the work happening at the Dallas County Foundation, Butch. And to wrap us up, I would love to hear what you're hopeful for the Community Foundation moving forward.
Well, yeah, I've talked to you before about this, and I've always said, the growth in the sub funds is great, and I'll be glad to get over this 2020 and COVID, and it sounds like it's going to go into 2021 for a while, but hopefully whatever the new normal is, we're back to that,
Mm-hmm.
to where maybe we can open up the doors and get into stores and get into businesses and see people face to face, even if we have to have a mask on, to actually visit with people face to face and tell them what we're about. So looking forward to getting back to whatever our new normal is and getting that done. And
Yeah.
also opening up some line of communication with our county supervisors.
Okay.
I did attend one of their budget meetings this year, and I was kind of surprised, coming from a city background, that at the foundation, that we weren't reporting to the Dallas County supervisors on what we actually did in the county.
Okay.
So I thought it was a good idea that, one thing, their press covers their meetings. So if we could get in front of them once or twice a year, especially around the time of year that we do our grants, that we could be in front of them, and then it gets in front of the press that we
Mm-hmm.
did these number of grants, and generally we're in the 30 range, 30 grants that we put out, and kind of talk about who we gave money to, and how we're helping Dallas County and quality of life in Dallas County.
Yeah. Well, that all sounds really great, Butch. Thank you so much again for joining me today.
Well, Rebecca, thanks for taking the time to do this.